Hey everybody, welcome to IACommand TV Boy back again to talk about the rest of the IACP IA Continuity Project Season 3 announcements for new cards. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the cards that were changed either from Season 2 or from the official FFG version, that cards that were released and printed by FFG and are now getting updates for IACP for Season 3. In the previous video, we already talked about the new figures that are being released and made cards for by IACP, which are Yoda, Scout Troopers, Forlom, and Zuckuss. So go check that video out if you haven't already. In this video, we are going to be covering the rest of it. So let's jump in, and we're going to start off with Rebels once again. And on the right side, you're going to be seeing from the announcement page, the cards, the new cards, the updated cards. And on the left side, I'll be putting up the old cards so that you can kind of compare and see what the difference is. So let's jump in, and actually we're going to start not with Rebels. We're going to start with some generic skirmish command cards that they released for Guardians. So they made some new command cards for Guardians to help buff that trait. So one of the first new command card is called Get Behind Me. It's for Guardian or Rebel Force user. And use when an attack is declared targeting a friendly, non-Guardian, non-Brawler figure within 3 spaces. Move up to 3 spaces into a space adjacent to the target space that also could be a target space for the attack. The attack targets you instead. So this is kind of a new take on the old command card, which was Bodyguard, and we'll be using the Board Wars database to kind of help us here. And I'll throw a link in the description if you want to check out this site. It's a really great site where you can search any card for campaign or skirmish. But anyway, here's the card that I was mentioning that this is kind of riffing off of. You can basically force an opponent to attack your Guardian instead. But the problem with the Bodyguard is it was always awkward because you couldn't like react or move it. So this new card lets you basically move your Bodyguard into position to intercept the attack. So this is actually pretty strong. I don't think Rebel Force users really want to be using this card. I think that's just there for flavor because, you know, Kanan and excuse me, spoilers guys. Yeah, spoilers for Rebels if you haven't seen Rebels. But anyway, something like Riot Troopers using this is going to be really good to like protect Vader from a big attack. Okay, so the next card we've got here is a new card called Soften the Blow. Guardian 3-point card. So this is 3 points, and they said this is supposed to be the Guardian's new like on the lam / assassinate card. So this is use this card when an adjacent, friendly, small, non-Guardian figure suffers damage. Reduce the amount of damage suffered by that figure by 2 to a minimum of 0. So this card's pretty cool. At first I wasn't super impressed by it, but the neat thing about this is that because it's preventing damage, or no, it's reducing the amount of damage suffered, and you use it when it's suffering damage, you get to use this card at the very end of an attack, after surges have been spent, after modifiers, after rerolls. So your opponent can't react to this at all. So basically, if your opponent got just the right amount of damage, or even overkilled by 1, then this would actually I think if they kill them, because you can't overkill an Imperial Assault, so this is actually like kind of like a Miracle Worker, but you have to be adjacent. Yeah, I'm not sure about this card. Miracle Worker is super strong, but and we can look at that card. I bet this card plays much better than it looks. So this is kind of a similar card they're working with. It's not within 3 spaces, it has to be adjacent. But yeah, I think this is gonna be This is a cool. I really like the playstyle that Guardians are being put into by the IACP. So we'll see how that plays out, and definitely something that you need to be on the lookout if you're playing against a list that has like Guardians and like important non-Guardian figures. Okay, let's go to the next card. The final card is actually not a new card, but an updated card. So this is Perry, and this is a command card that's already existed in the game. So instead of just adding +1 block, you get to add +1 block and +1 evade. And this is a 0-point card that can be used by brawlers or guardians. So this is going to be nice. It's going to be nice for melee figures to kind of close the gap. In the past, Perry, I think, was pretty pointless, especially in Imperial list, because if you're running Zillow, then every card in your deck is the equivalent of Perry. But yeah, this is nice. This is a nice update to this card. So the reason I want to talk about these cards first is going to give some context to some of the later cards that we're going to look at that are Guardians, and or maybe have been given the Guardian trait. Okay, so let's move into the figures themselves. And I think instead of starting with Rebels, let's start with Mercenaries, because I think the biggest change, or the biggest thing that defined Season 2 of the IACP had to be Boba Fett. And so now we've got a new Boba Fett for Season 3, totally revamped. And I'm going to bring up the Boba Fett card, the original Boba Fett card, just for comparison. But for those that played Season 2, you'll remember that they gave him like 3 different abilities that he could spend movement points to trigger: a rocket launcher, a flamethrower, and then like a buff power token thing. So let's look at the new one. So new Boba Fett, he's got 14 health. He's still 13 points. They've given him the vehicle trait. He's got 14 health, still 6 speed. He now has blue, green, green. So in the Season 2, he had blue, green, ? And he could change his die at will. So now he's locked in at blue, green, green. He's still got the +1 block, +1 evade, still mobile with 6 movement, which is amazing. He's got Surge for +2 and Surge for +2 accuracy and Pierce 1. So that's pretty awesome. So now let's look at these new abilities he's got. So he's still got Wrist Flamethrower. So that's the same from Season 2. You can spend 2 movement points to choose, once per round, you can spend 2 movement points to choose a space within 2 spaces. Each other figure on or adjacent to that space suffers 1 damage and 1 strain and becomes weakened. So he can do this to someone adjacent and he doesn't suffer the consequences. Super strong. It lets him pinpoint and do pinpoint damage to figures without wasting an action. He's also kept the EE3 ability. However, now they have changed it so it now costs 2 movement points to use. So when you declare an attack, you may spend 2 movement points to change one of your attack die to a red die, limit once per attack. That's pretty cool. I like that. They toned that down for sure, where it was just free to use in Season 2, where you always could just give him a red. I like that you have to spend movement points for that now. And now they've given him a new ability. So instead of his wrist rocket ability, and they got rid of the other ability of giving himself a power token, so now you can at least fit all of that text onto one normal card. Wrist cord. Once per round, you may spend 2 movement points to choose a figure within 3 spaces in your line of sight. Push the chosen figure up to 3 spaces to a space adjacent to you. It becomes stunned. Ooh, that's really cool. That's actually really strong. That's basically like Shyla's whip, in that he can push a figure 3 spaces. It is good that they limited it, that he has to pull them over to him. He can't just push them wherever he feels like it. But it's also really strong that they become stunned as well. So that's really strong. I think Boba is looking pretty good. He's looking toned down from his Season 2 for sure. But he still looks quite strong, and I think that's the goal here. Let's look at Boba Fett's command card. So that was the real problem in Season 2, is this command card was a bit ridiculous. So here we go. Boba Fett, 2 points. Use during your activation to gain 4 movement points. Or you can use this card during your activation to perform an attack without spending an action. So that's nice, because in Season 2, they gave you both. Like, you got a free move action, and you could spend 2 movement points to attack. Now they're saying, here, you can get either or, you can't have both. This is really nice. I think this is the right balance. They found the right balance here for the command card. This boba looking much more balanced than Season 2's boba. Although I thoroughly enjoyed Season 2's boba, he was pretty nuts. Okay, so let's move on. We'll make our way through the mercenary faction here. Oh, what's going on here? Okay, we talked about the Forlom Zuckuss combo. Actually, was there something else here? Oh, Dengar did get an upgrade. So let's take a look at Dengar. So Dengar is now 8 points. Okay, so he's now 8 points up from 7 points previously. He now has 12 health instead of 8. Other stats are unchanged. He's got the +2 accuracy and now has a +1 block. He still has the surge for +2, but he's also gained a surge for +2 accuracy and blast 2. Now let's look at his abilities. He still has contempt, that is unchanged, but now he has ability need for pain. Before you declare an attack, become focused. Okay, so that's nice. So now he's a true proper 3-die attack figure, but he does not benefit from being focused like by Jabba or Gideon or 3PO or any of those guys. So kind of puts a cap on his attack dice, which is nice. Again, we talked about that with Zuckuss. They use the same thing. And he still has punishment. So I believe that one lets him apply a harmful condition, and it can be triggered multiple times. So this Dengar looking pretty swole, pretty beefy compared to his old version. Much better attack. He now has a surge for accuracy and another green die, so he can actually shoot at long range. And he also gets that sweet blast 2 surge as well, tacked onto the +2 accuracy. So some long distance blast and some long distance stun going on here with Dengar. So yeah, he looks like he's just pretty solid. Let's see if they gave him a new command card. Doesn't look like it. So let's see. Payback. After attack targeting resolves to interrupt from attack targeting the attacker. Whoa, that's pretty strong actually. So I think the problem was in the original Dengar, only 8 health. It was hard to trigger this, and his attack was so weak that you didn't really need an extra attack with him, but now it's going to be pretty strong. Alright, Dengar is looking sweet, and going to join the ranks of Boba, IG, Zuckuss, and Forlom with the 6 in competitive play. I think the only one we're missing now is going to be Bosk. So we're just waiting for an update to Bosk. So let's see what else they have changed. Alright, new upgrade for the Elite Tusken Raider. Brawler, 7 health, 4 speed, same everything. They still get the +1 damage. They now have a surge for Pierce 1, so that's nice because they couldn't use surges to increase their damage output before this. They lost the surge for Cleave 1, and they have now a surge for Weaken that they kept. And now they have Tusken Cycler, which has changed. So now you can actually use their abilities during their Tusken Cycler. So now that's awesome because it means you get the +1 damage and you can do the surge for Pierce 1 or Weaken. They mentioned that I think the reason they didn't want Tusken Cycler to use abilities was because they didn't want to have ranged cleave in the game at that point. Although I think it didn't matter because you could already do it in campaign. So yeah, this one's looking good. I think the ability to do that Tusken Cycler and have the +1 damage and Pierce 1 is going to be exactly what Tuskens need. I don't think they're going to be super competitive in this form, but I think they're going to be much less embarrassing than they were previously. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. So that is it for the mercenary faction. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rebels. Alright, so looking at the Rebel faction and continuing on with the Twin Shadows figures, we have an updated Biv Bodrick. So as you can see on the screen, we've got Biv, the original Biv Bodrick, a bit of a joke, a bit of a meme in the Imperial Assault Skirmish community for just how bad he was in Skirmish. Just a 9-point figure with 8 health and no defensive ability is just so bad. But now we've got the new Biv. He is 8 points, so 1 point less than the original. He's still a hunter brawler, so great traits, especially for the hunter side. He now has a respectable 12 health instead of 8. Still 4 speed, still black die, and the blue, red, yellow attack dice for ranged attack. He now has a built-in +2 accuracy and a built-in +1 block, so much tankier and much better accuracy than before. You can expect him to be hitting around the range 4 to 5, similar to Chewbacca. And then he has a surge for +2 and a surge for blast 1. And instead of close and personal, which would let him attack the same figure twice, and one of them had to be melee, he now just gets straight up brutality, perform 2 attacks against different targets. So powerful on a ranged attacker. I love it. I love that they have put this ability on Biv as a ranged attacker. And then he gets suppression, which is an ability I believe came out on CT-1701 in Tyrants, which is surge after resolving a ranged attack. Oh, this is actually new. If the accuracy of the attack was greater than or equal to the distance to the target suffers strain equal to the number of the target's block, evade, and dodge results to a maximum of 2. So that sounds a little confusing, but basically all that means is that you just need to make range on the attack to use the surge ability for suppression. And it doesn't matter if you don't do any damage or if they roll a dodge. None of that matters. As long as you can hit them from the range you're at, you get to do the suppression, which deals most likely 2 strain to the target, which seems pretty good. Really like the stats on Biv. At 8 points, he is going to be competing with a few other figures, namely, I think Fen and probably like Drakata at 9 points. But I think this guy can definitely make up his points, especially with doing 2 attacks just straight up. That's really strong. I think he's going to be really good. He's a hunter, so he's going to fit perfectly into a list with like Sabine or with Alliance Rangers, which are hunters. Yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of table time now. He also got a updated command card, Close and Personal. So use during your activation to move up to 2 spaces to a space adjacent to a hostile figure. Perform a melee attack on that figure using 1 red, 1 yellow die. And this does not cost an action at all. This attack uses only the following abilities: Pierce 1, Surge for +1, Surge for stun. So it kind of took it straight out of his campaign abilities, I think, which is cool. And they found a way to keep that flavor of Biv being kind of a close-up fighter that improvises with his gun in his command card. So I think that's cool. Moving on, we have an update for Saska. Saska, also kind of a meme that you have to pay 6 points to bring a mercenary figure into a rebel list, whereas mercenaries can pay 1 point to get 2 rebel figures in their lists. And she's been always pretty notoriously bad. So let's look at what she's got going on now. So Saska is still a smuggler spy, gone down 2 points to 4 points. She is now one less health, so 6 health, 4 speed, white die, still green and yellow attack, but her abilities have been buffed. She now has +2 accuracy instead of just +1. She still has the surge for +1 accuracy, +1 damage. She loses the surge for Pierce 1, but instead has a surge for weaken and stun, and then a surge for +1. So a ton of surge abilities that she can use to augment her attack, and some better accuracy as well. And then it looks like her abilities are unchanged. So she still has that unstable device, which costs an action, which has always been kind of disappointing on her, especially since she suffers damage to do it. And then she gets the shady contacts. So, yeah, Saska, I'm going to say I'm not super excited about the new Saska. I think the idea here is just make her cheaper so that it's not so costly, and it looks like they really didn't up her attack that much. Gave her +1 accuracy and they allowed her to stun, but she lost health. So yeah, I guess this is a way for Rebels to bring mercenary figures. But I mean, there is some stuff you can do with that. Boba Fett in a Rebel list is going to be interesting. You could also use it to bring some cheaper pocket hitters like Greedo, Vinto, or Onar, which is also going to be interesting. I think I like that they're being conservative with this. I think Rebels could do a lot of damage with some of those really powerful mercenary figures in their list. Let's look at her command card here. She's got... Oh, no, looks like they didn't change it at all. So I think she had something to do with... You guys can look that up on your own. So next card that has changed is the Fury of Kashyyyk. And the only change to this card is it's gone down 1 point. Otherwise, it is exactly the same. You basically, if you put it on a Wookiee group, and if they suffer 3 or more damage, they become focused. I actually think this is an interesting... This has potential for going on, like... You can't put it on Chewbacca. You could put it on Drokata, and I think it would do pretty well there, so that your other figures can be focusing someone else instead of Drokata. This one's always kind of weird because it's your opponent gets to decide when it triggers, basically. I still don't think even at 1 point it's going to work. I think if they made it 0 and made it like generic Wookiees only, then that would make more sense to me. But we'll see. I know there's Wookiee fans out there. Okay, and then I think there's one more change for Rebels, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi has gotten one change, which is he is now a Guardian in addition to being a Force user. And I like this. Like, this is really thematic. Because if you think about it, he was on Tatooine for 17 years guarding that little kid, Luke Skywalker, from the Empire. He should be a Guardian. And again, that's why we looked at those generic Guardian cards in the beginning, because now that means he's got access to all of those. And he might be playable again. Especially, I think, if Kanan is playable, I think Obi-Wan should be playable too. I feel like they're kind of in the same level. And now that Obi-Wan's got that Guardian trait, which makes him unique from the other Force users, I think there's going to be some play there. So that was Rebels. Let's get into finally the last faction is going to be Imperials. So let's see what's changed for Imperials here. The first one is going to be the Elite Royal Guard. So here's the original on the left. They were 12 points. And 6-figure cost. They have gone down significantly to 9 points, 5-figure cost. They have gained an additional Pierce 1, and it looks like they have a new ability, 2 new abilities. So they have Sentinel. They now have Retribution, which is, I believe, from the Royal Guard Champion, which is basically the same thing as Forward Vengeance, but you get Focus. So that's pretty good, because they really need it, because there's still just 2 attack dice, red and yellow, even though they did get the Pierce 1 bonus. That's kind of rough, so the Focus will help them out a lot. And they got Professional, which is also nice to help with those reds. Yeah, with their Guardians and Brawlers, I think these guys look playable. You can give them power tokens with Thrawn. The 2 attack dice is still iffy, but again, Pierce 1 and Professional really help to bring the floor up on that attack a lot, and then also Retribution, making them focus. So it'll be interesting to see how the Royal Guards do in Season 3. The next one that's been updated, looks like we have an update for the SC2M Repulsor Tank. So the main change here, it looks like it went down 1 point. It got an extra 2 health, and I think that is it. Yep, so small changes to the tank, and this is on top of, you have to remember, the Beast Hammer card for vehicles that they made back in Season 1 or Season 2, that basically gives free movement to Imperial vehicles and can be depleted to give them a focus. So yeah, we might see some play. I still think massive figures have a real problem in Imperial Assault when they defend just not much better than a small figure, but the small figures are so much better at hiding and staying out of sight. With a massive figure, you're just this huge target that everyone gets to shoot at and do a ton of damage to. So I think vehicles are going to struggle, but I think Imperials can make the most out of them with that Imperial retrofit. That's what it's called. Okay. And we got the new Scout Trooper we talked about in the last video. And now finally the ISBs have gotten upgraded. So let's look at what they used to be. So we can see that the ISBs are still 7 points, 4 figure cost, same health, same stats, Pierce 1 and hide, Surge plus 2. So the only change made to the ISB infiltrators is their coordinated raid now allows them to move 2 spaces before they get the bonus attack to their figure in their group. Yeah, you know, I don't think that was really the problem with them. I think getting the bonus attack being difficult isn't really the problem. The problem with these guys is they just don't have enough dice in their attack pool to make use of all those surge abilities. So I'm not sure about these guys. I think maybe if we try them again, and if they can become hidden, and if they can get some surge power tokens maybe from Thrawn, that might be the answer. I'm skeptical of these guys though. I think they needed a way to like self-focus or something, because they just don't hit hard enough even when you are giving them a third attack during their activation. So that's everything. That was all the changes covered in Season 3. I think Season 3, you know, even though it ended on a little bit of a low note there, I think overall Season 3 is looking good. We've got some sweet new figures. We got a lot of stuff. We got small changes. I like that they're doing small changes to things. They're not going too crazy. It feels very measured. Feels very intentioned, if that's a word. And yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far. So I've got LVO coming up next weekend. I'm more there to document the tournament than to play, but I am going to be playing if I can. I did get a ticket, and I did get my entry fee reserved, or my entry reserved. So right now I'm kind of focusing on standard play, but I am super excited for Season 3. Once LVO and once Worlds are over, I'm just going to be in IACP full stop, enjoying the new game. Because, you know, standard has been kind of boring lately. I've been playing a lot of standard to get ready, and I'm kind of just bored out of my mind with how limited everything is, how little options there are. And I get pretty jealous of the people that are able to just play ICP all the time, because they have so many more options than us for list building. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you go check out the changes and all the new content that's coming to Imperial Assault through Season 3. Man, it's so exciting to get new content again. It's so refreshing. It feels like it's like we get to have Christmas again, and when all the other games were enjoying all their new content and we've been left out for the last year and a half. Imperial Assault is getting its due here, and I really appreciate what the IACP is doing for the game, and I hope you guys all embrace it and jump into it. And if you enjoy Imperial Assault, get in on IACP. The game is so much better with the changes that they've made. It's so much more fun, so much more accessible. The list building is so much better. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll see you guys again for another video soon. Peace out.